Yeah. Oh, run an ad.
Would you drop an ad on them?
Yeah, if I can figure out how to do that. Oh, it went away now. There's no option. It used to be right there to be like, yo, send an ad. Cool. Oh, no, it just popped up. You have to be running for a couple seconds. All right, I'm going to hit the add button. Good, let's get that out of the way. Starting Twitch. This is my theme for. Wait, let me. No, I'm in that window already. This is my theme for when you're fighting a guy with projectiles because that weird like to me sounds like somebody's like shooting spines at you.
I can see it. I can see it. It took me a second to reach there, but I got there. It's fine.
And I figured at some point I'm gonna look for an elemental related song, but I figure we can start on just shooting stuff. Pew 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 pew. Cause we got a conduit. I forgot what else I was gonna do. Oh, So the last couple days I've been running. Oh, somebody sent me a DM. Oh, it's a bot. That's disappointing. Anyway,
Not like, hey, you want to buy some subscribers?
oh, this guy's like, I'll buy. You can buy search engine optimization. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good, Brosif.
Thanks,
But
Brozepi.
thanks, bro bot. Um, uh, the last couple days I put up what is wrong with me? I put up a poll on Twitter a couple days ago, and I was like, yo, what kind of clerical streams would you guys rather see? Would you rather I go through cataloging my magic collection so that I know which cards to chop up and make minis out of, or would you rather I go through and fix the D&D music overhaul? So like, what you guys get access to as becoming a channel member or a patron on Patreon is this, which I call the overhaul list, because the overhaul list is me fixing up this list of music, which all have the titles, the artist, where those files are, and what situation I want them to. I think they would fit in well with. This is 40 something pages long. I've only finished 20 of them, putting them in the overhaul list. So at some point, I'm gonna just do streams where I listen to the music and then fix it up in this list so you guys will have access to it. And it's not like this original list is the only list of music that I've got. There's a text document where I didn't write down what I want those songs to be used for, but I know that I want to use them in D&D. And that text document is like a couple 100 pages long, I think.
Basically, what Okami is saying to you is you should subscribe so you can witness all of this hard work that he's put in so that he doesn't have to drink LaCroix.
The TV static of water. But yes, there's that. And only one person had looked at the poll after I'd already started streaming. So I started streaming cataloging my magic collection. And then someone wrote in the poll, I would rather you just did the music stuff. And I was like, well, I wish you had said that before I started streaming. But at least this means you guys have something to look forward to when I'm done with the magic stream. Though I did make some friends on Twitch. I've been doing those, what I call clerical streams, only on Twitch because I don't necessarily want to clutter up my YouTube page. My YouTube page is going to be more, I would say, focused content. So like this stream right now, you could be watching it on YouTube or Twitch. But obviously the Twitch version is going to disappear after 2 weeks. YouTube version will stay here forever. So if you're not watching now, you could be watching way off in the future and hanging out with us digitally with your minds. It's like we're there.
You're so optimistic about how long the internet's going to be around for.
I can hope.
I'm very much a Lacara here. You've got a lot of hope for the sake and the safety of the internet. It's gonna implode soon. I'm telling you
I
right now.
I think we'll be dead, and most of technology will still function.
Don't depress me.
We're floating heads.
I don't. Are we talking like Futurama floating heads where you have to be in
Yeah.
the jar?
Yes.
I guess if we all get the floating versions where they have like the jet at the bottom, that's acceptable. If I just have to be head in a jar on a shelf, that's sad. I don't want to be like the cast of Star Trek in that universe.
See, I always think of the Kill Switch episode of the X-Files.
Oh,
Ooh.
good reference.
I feel like I should have watched. I would have liked the X-Files as a kid, but I only saw like 2 episodes, and I was scared of everything as a child. And the 2 episodes
yeah.
scared the crap out of me, so I never watched
Some of their
again.
stuff was like so disturbing I still can't watch it. But that was such a good show. Although I have to say, I had an extremely depressing X-Files realization the other day.
Oh no.
Now, Scully was one of my heroines growing up.
Makes
Like,
sense.
and then I realized he's actually a bad scientist.
Oh, that's
What?
And
disappointing.
it hurt. I had such a realization. Okay, so in the very first episode, when Mulder meets her and is making fun of her, he pulls out her undergraduate thesis work, which was, he was like, "Ooh, you rewrote Einstein. Like, that's pretty ballsy of you." And so it was on relativity. And then, like, a few episodes later, they're standing in the middle of having just had an encounter, and she screams, "That doesn't happen. Time is a universal invariant." And I'm like, oh no, Scully. you can't have done both of those things. You can't have relativity and have time be a universal invariant. That's the whole point of relativity.
Huh.
And it's like one of
They
the
paid
most
her
known
enough money
quotes.
to sound smart to us at that point.
What's that?
That's like
They paid so much money to make her sound smart to us at that time, though. That's the
I
thing.
know.
Hi,
And it's
nerdy
taken me
Sakura.
all this time to realize it, and then it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was like, oh, that hurts. There goes a piece of my childhood.
I feel like that's the opposite of. I'm probably gonna butcher her name, but Mayim Bialik's. Like when
Oh yeah.
when she got on Big Bang Theory, people would interview her and be like, "So how does it feel to talk about all these smart things, knowing you're not smart?" And she's like, "Huh?
Actually,
I
I
went
have
to
a
school
PhD
for
in
this."
biochemistry. Yeah.
Don't
Like, I'm a-
assume.
Do you know what I've done with my free time between now and Blossom? A lot.
I was trying to think of what show she was on, and I could not think of it.
Yep. Did not know her from anything until The Big Bang Theory, but then I learned about her at like actual life, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
So, now that I think we're all here, I was telling Shin earlier, I haven't heard from Bacon all day, so I'm gonna assume he's not showing up. If he shows up, I'll be very surprised.
He's
But
got no excuse. With the night I had, I showed up.
right? You rolled pretty poorly on a con check. And then the people rolling, no, the people for you that were supposed to roll medicine just chose not to.
Yeah, it was like they had the herbalism kit, but they left it at home. All right.
You'll be okay.
You'll be fine.
You'll wake up in 1d4 hours anyway. It's all good.
All right. So we
Refresh.
forgot this last time, but we're going to do an intro now just to, actually tell people who we are. So I'm Okami or Scott. You can call me whatever you'd like. Kage. I'm here on YouTube and Twitch, and we're going to be talking about the Empowered today. And here with me, I've got 2 other DMs if they would like to introduce themselves.
Everybody. Oh, hey, everybody. It's me, DM Shin. Back again, I think, for like the 8th time. I think I'm starting to lose track of time. But classically trained 5e DM turned into tabletop kind of a bit of a. I think I'm turning into a tabletop snob. Someone told me the other day, so I'm kind of scared for myself. Yeah, they're like, you know too many tabletops. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just want to absorb them all. But you can occasionally find me on the internet doing random things, mostly popping up in everybody else's media. But occasionally I do appear on my own channel when I do decide to post media.
Cool. I'm DM Lacara. I don't know, I've been playing 5e for like 5-ish years. A couple months into DMing. And yeah, you will not find me on the internet other than here. That's pretty short.
I was thinking, like, I don't have a single link for you anymore. And I was like, nah, you probably like it that way.
Yep. Hey, you know, once every like 2 or 3 years, I open a Twitter account very briefly. And then I'm like, oh, hell no. I leave again.
Understandable. If you guys have been hanging out on the channel for a while, one of the people that's been hanging out on the YouTube channel, and I've known for years and years, is Burning Punch. And every once in a while, Burning Punch will be like, I'm going to make new everything, and this time, I'm going to take care of them. And then like a week and a half later, he's like, I'm just going to delete everything. That was enough. The week and a half, that was enough.
Yeah. Yep.
But last week, me and DM Shin got our empowered up to level 15, and we made a few tweaks to the rules for everybody. And then we have a specific tweak for if you're using the Vigilante. So I raised an Esper, DM Shin raised a Vigilante. Today, DM Lacara is going to raise up their Conduit to level 15. I opened up a page on Writebox so I could just throw in the data that, like, this is what we changed from when you're leveling up a character, in case any of you wants to get that knowledge. It's also in the description of the YouTube video, so I figured I'd put it up on the screen for the people on Twitch.
Sweet. Okay, so how do you want me to share the character sheet to the Discord and you share it? Or
I could
am I
do
just
that
going to talk
too.
my way through this?
You could talk your way through it, and then
Okay, cool.
all of our character sheets at some point will be available. There's a link on the YouTube videos to the repository where the character sheets are currently, so you can see where we've been and where we're going.
Okay.
But what we did last week is we just went through every level and did whatever that level was. If you want to, you can just go through a whole bunch of things at once. Like if you wanted to, you could just roll all 15 of your health. We're not going to stop you.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I don't roll for that. Dice don't like me enough for that. I take the average because that is better than whatever
method
I'm gonna
works
roll.
best, I think works here.
That's fair. I ended up
Really
at level
roll
15
me.
with 168 health, which is
I
pretty
think
high.
I did this math before. I think Helsa is gonna have 144. I think.
That's not bad.
Okay, so I was a little above average on my final rolls, which is nice.
Okay. Hey, I gotta pull out all my crap so I know what the rolls are. So they get D10s, right?
D12s.
Yes.
We're basically barbarians.
Oh yeah.
Oh, D12s.
Right, we are
Okay, that's how it
D12s.
got so high. Okay, so that's starting level is max, and then 14 levels at
7?
6 plus con, right?
They do the 7
Oh, 7,
thing.
7, yeah.
Like,
So that's 9.
normally it's half plus whatever your con is, but DM Bacon brought up a good point that a lot of people, for their average, they actually do whatever the average is plus whatever pushes you over that number, or based on how many dice you have, which I guess also makes sense.
Okay, so that puts me at 138 to start with, but I haven't done my ASIs yet, so I'll just add that in later.
That's fair. For level 1, we're giving everybody true potential. It's supposed to be your level 10 ability where you have double your carrying capacity because you're so strong, but we're giving that to everybody just for being an empowered, because it's not like it's level 10.
Doesn't seem that exciting.
It's not like you being like, it takes you 10 levels to figure out you can lift heavy things.
But also, you're so deep into your archetype that to just randomly be able to just pick stuff up, like
Yeah.
I don't see where that's a great achievement. I think that should be a default.
I understand like giving people advantage on strength checks, but it's only for items. It's not strength checks like if you're trying to grapple someone or you're trying to hold someone in place. It's only on objects. So like I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
How often does your DM make your party play tug of war against another party?
Funny
Not
you should
often
say that.
enough.
I do have a tendency to force people into a lot of strength checks somehow in my campaigns. Usually things falling on them and them attempting not to get squished. I think I had a player who was a halfling. They had a giant's door fall on them, but they decided to be a halfling barbarian. And they were like, I want to athletics check. I want to like roll an athletics check to see if I can like flex this door off of me. And they just barely made it. It was a fun moment, but they were stressed. They were definitely stressed.
They could have been 2D.
Mm. Mm. They could have gotten under all the doors.
Okay.
I think that's the only other. The other one doesn't apply to you specifically because your power manifestation makes sense. You only use the 2 ability scores. So, but the other one is we said if your power manifestation has a 3rd ability score, you can swap that between whatever it is and con. However, this only applies to abilities you get through the class. Like if you were to get a feat for performing some crazy stunt, or if you did a downtime feat, or you took a feat instead of an ASI, that one you'd still have to use whatever that stat was.
Yeah.
Speaking of ASIs and feats, we did also in the empowered booklet, it notes that it says just ASIs on 4, 8, and 12, but we both decided you could do an ASI or a feat, even though it doesn't explicitly state it.
Yeah.
And because we gave 10th level, I think you have it in the notes that because we gave the 10th level as the starter, you take in either a feat or another power manifestation.
Yeah, you can grab
10.
another astounding power. We also said you can work with. I think it makes the most sense if you work with your DMs, like while you're coming up with your character and while you're leveling up, that you could potentially swap something else in to count as an astounding power within reason as well. Because obviously, Tundra Boy hasn't thought up everything, and there's plenty of stuff on the internet out there.
Yeah. Oh, nobody can think up everything.
That's true. A really simple one for this is because there's already precedence for it. One of the astounding powers is, actually I think 2 of them do it, but for sure the laser eyes one is you just gain the firebolt cantrip, but it comes out of your eyes. So a very simple one would be I get a cantrip for my astounding power.
Cool.
You know, it would be a fun one if you could do it for the vigilante. I think if they were able to, at point blank range when grappling someone, cast Toll the Dead by looking into their eyes, it would be much more hilarious because it would be similar to the idea of a penance stare because they'd be punishing them for damage taken as Toll the Dead does.
Oh, that would be so true to form, especially if you started like if you got that at a lower level, and then by the time you made it up to your ominous stare, you were like, "This is the evolution."
Yeah.
I think I would allow the ominous stare to start using your true strength die in place to power up the penance stare that you're giving and the ominous stare. In fact, that would probably be my greatest fix to the vigilante, giving it damage for staring into people's eyes.
And
you weren't here for Lacara. We did establish that my character will be naked in a Tengu mask and a sumo underwear and just standing in the dark at all times.
Oh, that's fun. That's
This is
great.
how
Yeah,
we
I
decide
wanna.
to strike fear into people.
Have you guys developed like your characters and like their names and backstories and stuff yet?
I did some of it, but I
did too.
figured on this session we can definitely go into a little bit more about that.
Cool. Yeah, because I'm backwards from you guys. I came up with her like personality and backstory first. And I'm like, oh, stats, that's a thing I should do.
I have to get math out of the way before the rest of my brain can work.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do probably the ASIs next,
Okay.
just to get those out of the way, because I usually don't do feats. I am gonna take one feat this time.
What are you gonna grab?
So there's two specifically for tieflings in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and I think I'm gonna go with Flames of Phlegethos. You learn to call on Hellfire to serve your commands. You gain the following benefits. Either int or charisma goes up by 1. When you roll fire damage for a spell you cast, which is the main elemental damage that my conduit does, you can reroll any one. Any one, not anyone.
Like
and
a kind of like a lucky effect.
yes.
Okay.
And whenever you cast a spell that does fire damage, you can cause flames to wreath you until the end of your next turn. They shed light, and if anybody hits you with a melee attack, they take fire damage.
Wow, so it gives you a hellish rebuke.
Right, which I already have, but then this like triggers
It's
it
just some
automatically.
extra. Do you like
Yeah, I get
burning?
extra.
Here's some more.
That
What's up, Grimbo?
Was there not enough fire?
That's so layered, it's almost Pathfinder-esque to me. But
I was
love
gonna
that.
say that. So you said there's 2 that you're looking for. So we said instead of level 10 ability being you can carry things, you can take another astounding power or another feat. And I was gonna say I don't think either me or you, Shin, took a feat that gives us any ability score upgrades. Like there's no +1 for them. But if you threw that one in, that would probably make you even more powerful than you already are.
Yeah, it would give you the benefit of both.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, because the other one is Infernal Constitution, which increases your con by 1, gives you resistance to damage and poison damage, cold and poison damage, and you have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned.
I think you could fit both in if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
That would be wild. That's kind of broken, but I guess that's kind of the point of this.
Yeah. If ever you wanted to play a little over the line, I think this is the moment.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to take the intelligence because charisma is very much my dump stat on this character.
I forgot what it was. I worked out at level 15, if everything goes off right with the way my character currently is, I'm doing, what was it? I'm doing 1d10 and then 3d10 plus 10 and then another 3d10 plus 10. Like if everything goes right every turn.
Holy cow. Okay, then maybe I shouldn't worry too much.
Yeah, no, we're going to be real strong.
Yeah, I'm much more CC in terms of grappling and kind of sensing things. I've got a whole bunch of magical darkness and a lot of ways to take everything out within the magical darkness.
Yeah.
I have tremor sense, dark sense, and blind sense.
God.
And your abilities, you don't have to see people. You just have to know that there is a presence there.
Yeah, so I can completely strike people out without seeing them at this stage, because with the blind sense and tremor sense, I'm essentially just pinging their locations, and additionally, Okami can ping them for me if need be.
Yeah, I remember we came up, like, we didn't come up with that. You guys thought of that, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Oh, like,
yeah.
like, I also went like very high CC with the character, so whenever someone is close to me, I make them slower, and then I can choose to do something else to make them slower again, and then every time I hit them, they get slower. So I just don't want anyone to move ever again.
I mean, they're not going to, because as you slowly slow them, I plan to choke them. All.
Yeah, he's gonna be choking them, and I'm just gonna be setting everything on fire.
See, this is why I don't understand why Bacon doesn't want to be here. He loves setting things on fire.
The thing that I don't get is like, why are we being heroes?
I didn't say we were at this point. At this stage, I think
He's
I
a
did.
vigilante. He's technically outside the law.
I am whatever I say I am. And there's nothing that says a conduit has to light up, the heroic side of things. You could burn it all to the ground.
You could be a villain
Helsa,
if you want.
Helsa's
And
got
Esper?
issues.
Hey, and Espers, you know what? Charles Xavier isn't the only mutant with brain control. I'm just saying. I'm okay dipping my toes in the evil league.
The slowing people down thing, I'm just thinking about, like, it's great, but if you're like, if you're the DM in the campaign and one of your players is just messing with all the creatures' stats that are around you, that's gonna get annoying.
Yeah.
It could.
Not Pathfinder annoying though. I'm not directly affecting their stats.
Pathfinder is the only game I've ever seen someone have a negative 65 strength.
What?
Yes. Pathfinder's increases on stats is ridiculous. Things of the nature of like plus 15 and above, not impossible. Because it's a numbers heavy. It's based off Pathfinder branched out of 3.5e.
Yeah,
which is
that's what everybody played growing up that I was friends with. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was the golden age of D&D according to some people. I think that's kind of when I first got introduced to it more familiarly.
Mhm.
Like I had a old blue box that my grandparents had got me when I was a kid. That was how I first saw D&D, and it was like they were like, oh, it's like a play set, and I thought that's all I thought it was. So I don't know where that got lost in time, but long and the short, 3.5es when I kind of think came in with the MMO game they used to have, as well as me really kind of learning of the books and seeing what an actual guide looks like.
Yeah.
Pathfinder said, hey, we like big numbers. And I was in a game. It was a Pathfinder 2e game. And the guy who was essentially our Hell Knight, he pretty much dropped down to negative 65 strength. But he still had, I think, 82 strength because of all the pluses and buffs you can give each other in that game.
Oh my god.
Like you can buff things, and all of them are like incremental increases per level. So it's like at level 4, it's a +4, but at level 20, it's a plus like 18.
Oh my god.
Yeah, numbers get.
We will definitely, well, maybe not as DM Roundtable, but probably as DM Roundtable. When I get lower in the bookmarks, some of that stuff is for Pathfinder. So we'll definitely see weird things like, oh, if this attack connects, subtract 2 from this ability score. If it reaches 0, that creature dies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in Pathfinder.
Yeah, dumb stats hurt in Pathfinder.
Somebody like sitting there, like an intellect devoured, literally like on your head, just nomming on your brain. Eventually you'll die.
Wow.
Intellect devours are fun for the whole family.
That moment in the, you've both seen the D&D movie, right?
Yes.
That moment. That's actually kind of hurtful when the intellect devours walk past the whole group.
Oh yeah.
You're just like, no, there's nothing in there.
That game had that movie has so many great moments.
so good.
Okay. Okay, so what do I have to do for the empowery bits? Leveling up.
You
Okay.
get
So
at level 2. If you want to, you can just write in your pure strength. The level 15 pure strength is 1d10, so you can just write
Yeah.
that in now. You don't have to change that later.
Yeah, I've already got that in there. Yeah.
You will have a total of 5 astounding powers to choose.
Okay.
So you can choose those. Like, I assume you're gonna take laser eyes.
I need to find the list. Where is conduit's up high. Wait, so okay, those are my
The astounding
what are
powers
those,
are like the extra
manifestations?
stuff.
Yeah, right. Okay. So that's down here. Okay. Oh god, I have to go through this whole list again.
I assume
I
one of
take...
them's gonna be laser eyes.
Oh no way, I'm taking aquatic nature.
what?
No. That was very deep sarcasm.
It hit me. It hit me pretty deep. That caught me off guard. I was like, wait a moment.
Oh. Although I know we talked about how we would mess with boring monologue.
Yes, we did. We did.
To make
we
it
did
more
talk about
interesting.
it. Do you have some additional flavor for boring monologue? You would
No,
like?
so my original idea was that you actually subtracted your charisma modifier from it, and she has a negative charisma modifier. So that could actually go well for her.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Just that one skill for you, you're now using taco instead of regular rolls. You want to get below. It's so bad it changes their mind.
You've gone back to second to like AD&D, and I appreciate it as an AD&D player currently.
It's just like, because the whole point is that it's so boring that people are just trying to they agree just to get you out of their face. So actually, the worse your charisma is, the better it should work.
Oh yeah, because you want them to want you to go away.
Right. If you're super charismatic but you're boring, people will hang on longer. Like,
I feel like I've got roped into a mind game, and I don't know what to do. But I do agree that would be, I think, flavor wise as well as context wise. I think that would be a lot of fun. So I would agree to that. I would agree to that's the way the boring monologue worked.
what do you think, Kage?
I think it's hilarious that you just have one skill that works in reverse. So funny.
Well, because it reminds me of, I forget who it is, but one of the fighter archetypes gets like inspiring speech or something, and you're supposed to like talk for 3 minutes, and it's almost like bardic inspiration for your entire party. And this is like the exact opposite of it. It's like inspiring speech, no, boring monologue.
Oh, that's so good. I didn't even think of in the campaign I'm running, our bard has, I think it's inspiring leadership. During a rest, if they spend a minute to like talk people up, everyone has temp HP. And I'm like, there's actually a ton of abilities that are like that. Like, oh, you start at the rest, you could have your whole squad giving talks about different things simultaneously, and then at the end, everyone's buffed.
Yep.
Like, awesome. TED Talk Battle Royale.
It's almost like a rap battle is occurring right then and there with your party.
Yeah.
They just don't know what to do.
Let me see. I'm just going through the rest of these to see. Okay, so that's one.
I don't think either of us took flight.
I definitely wasn't planning on flight.
But the Esper gets flight at level 18. by default. So I was like, I feel like I'm not really missing out on much. Eventually, I would have gotten flight anyway. It would have been silly if I got flight and then later learned flight.
I'm gonna see how many of these I actually want, because I was thinking about being able to fly, but only. Well, wait a second. Don't the new tieflings get wings?
Oh yeah, you do.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think we
You're the
mentioned
one
that they
I
get
gave you the link.
wings.
Hold on, let me see. I was actually looking up tieflings yesterday for a different reason as I stare at the chat. There's a reason I was looking up tieflings. Yep.
We all know it was Grimbo.
Yeah, we figured that. We figured that one.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, whoa, that's so cool! I didn't even know that they got new wings. I was actually looking it up to figure out where. So Clubs, his character became a DMPC, and he's using the UA version of an abyssal tiefling, which like isn't even on the website, isn't on D&D Beyond anymore. And he has all these crazy powers that I'm like, where are they coming from? So last night I was looking at them and I was like, what are you guys? What is this? Where are you? And then I was like, oh yeah, he's UA.
The page does not work anymore. Like, there's no link to the new version.
If you can go to, I'm gonna share this in our chat. Bloink. You're now a variant tiefling. And you get Vicious Mockery for free. You won't be the only tiefling with Vicious Mockery, Jimbo.
Vicious Mockery saves lives. Never forget.
He got it from his homebrew tiefling class.
My husband plays a bard, and he won't take Vicious Mockery because it doesn't mesh with his character, which like it absolutely doesn't. But
Fair.
I'm like, but I have so many good ideas for it. I was like, you are so bad at this spell because you can't think of anything bad to think of for this, that at some point you started summoning like an imp, something mean for you, because he can't stand how bad you are at this.
I don't like that.
I offered that and he still didn't want it. I was like, come on.
No, that's good flavor.
In one of the games Bacon's running, he's using the Marvel Heroic RPG stuff, so we're playing like a Spider-Verse sort of, maybe 1 or 2 shot. And one of the people that's playing with us, we're all different versions of Spider-Man, obviously, because it's Spider-Verse. One of them picked Spider-Ham, and he just kept rifling off all these things sounding like John Mulaney, and we were like, are you coming up with these off the top of your head? And he holds a book up to the camera, and he's like, no, I've been thinking about these for weeks. I was like, wow. Wasn't
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Yeah, no, my husband does that too. He has a book that all of his puns and everything go into. That link was the same link I was looking at, Scott, that did not have.
I wonder. No, it wouldn't be.
I'll look it up somewhere else. I think it broke because people in the comments were like, "Where did the link go?" And it gives you a 404 error if you try to click on the other link.
Is it from Variant Tiefling? Must be from Monsters of the Multiverse. So I bet you can't access it anymore unless you have Monsters of the Multiverse on D&D Beyond, because they're jerks.
But usually it just brings up the ad for you to buy it. Like, if that's the thing.
I think that's also so. D&D Beyond, well, Hasbro decided that they were tired of people buying things piecemeal. So a couple weeks ago, they changed it so you can't buy individual items anymore. You have to buy the whole book. And
yeah,
they're getting like, people are crawling up their butt over it. In my head, I was imagining like someone literally just like almost like a Mulch Diggums type from Artemis Fowl. Just like him chomping up the butt, and then I was like, it's going to sound weird if I say it like that.
I don't think there's a way you could say that doesn't. Yep, I have wings. Cool. That's useful.
That's cool. You get burning hands, too. Hellish Rebuke makes sense. I also feel like you're getting a lot of stuff. Oh, enthralled.
Yeah, this comes with a lot of spells. Vicious Mockery.
It makes sense,
Charm
though.
Person again. Now I have 2 ways to cast Charm Person.
They really went for, like, they looked at all the other legacy versions and they were like, what if I just crumpled up all of them into one? Here you go.
Yeah, okay, I need... Oh my god, okay, Vicious Mockery. But this also, I think, has different score increases than the other one, so I'm gonna have to go back and check what I actually rolled initially. Person...
Oh, I bet you it's in the... It doesn't have that. It doesn't have a specific section where it says stuff is different. So I'm gonna guess it still stays at int by 1 and charisma by 2.
Oh, is it? Okay. So maybe those were my...
You have a new appearance section where you roll 1d4 plus 1 and then choose weird demon traits.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, that's like rolling on the flaws and the character stuff and what have you. Like, you don't necessarily have to roll those if you have good ideas. Sorry, if you have ideas. Doesn't necessarily have to be good ones.
Let's see.
I'm sad Ozzy isn't here. I wanted to see if he was also into in the clerical streams for MTG that I've been running. There's a guy in France that's been hanging out in all the streams, and I'm like, I bet you he's also into D&D. But it is now what? It's like 2 in the morning there, so probably not tuning in. It's hoping to see you, Ozzy.
Okay, so I don't need to take flight, so there goes that.
Woo! It's also cool that these wings are just always on you, but it does take away from you having heavy armor.
I mean, I don't think a conduit's ever gonna wear heavy armor.
Nah, you're gonna be
from
guns out, guns out, literally.
Yeah, that's very true. But it seems like very few. I think only the vigilante and super soldier got even the ability to wear armor and keep everything. And the empowered was crafted as a I guess in the same idea of your super suit is on, so you're not going to wear armor because you're going to be wearing your costume. Not me.
Okay, so yes, I'm definitely taking laser eyes.
It only makes sense.
Yeah.
The cool thing is you can choose. It's not like you choose when you choose laser eyes. Every time you fire it, you're like, do I want fire or radiant?
That's true. I'm also thinking of taking instinctive reflexes. Because her background is urchin. She was an orphan that got adopted, so I think that, like, danger sense thing is probably there.
I was thinking for you specifically, you don't have to do this, but I think if you had maybe instinctive reflexes, and I was looking at burst energy before just for the name, but the idea is kind of cool too. Like if you you could flavor it as like, oh, you succeeded on a strength or dex save, and then like part of your elemental energy kind of like bursts out a little bit and will shield you a bit better.
Oh, that's cool.
That was my flavor thing. Not saying you have to do that, but that's my flavor thing.
No, I do. I like that. I was also thinking Mistcrawler?
Mistcrawler is fun.
Mistcrawlers are great. Anytime you can get Misty Step, like, mwah!
Yeah. And I was just thinking, because she's not going to be armored. All of her stuff is ranged. So, like, ways to get her out of melee combat are probably smart.
Listen, Jimbo. I can't believe I enticed you with a gun somewhere on the island you're on, and you're still like, nah, I'm just going to die. You don't want that gun? There's a gun on that island, my guy!
He wants to die, let him die. be okay. Have to learn.
I will say it's in your best interest not to fall asleep out of character at the next session. You may or may not be stabbed.
Literally or in game?
Oh, literally. It definitely. I don't think it's gonna be in game. I think it's gonna be in real life. You're even up. You're not even down. That's the worst part. He's like, nah, I'm just gonna die. One of your teammates is knocked out, stuck to a tree, and on fire. And he's like, get me out of here. And you're up and at him. And you're like, nah, this is where I die.
Jimbo, I would say it like this to you. Sometimes the best way to win is to not fight. The greatest lesson I've ever learned in D&D. I don't have to take every fight to completion.
It's true. Listen, the guys on this island have a job to do. That's all I'm gonna say.
First to go down in the fight. As a person who's watched a lot of his characters die, I'm gonna tell you, it's not always the worst thing to go down first. Sometimes you just don't get to witness the horrors everybody else's dice have to do. They picked me up after I had.
It's true. You're captive in air quotes. It was like,
You'll be
can
okay.
I sneak over and heal them? I was like, you can do whatever you want. I don't care.
So what else do you have? Oh, that's right. You said you were going to take a lot more. I know you said the ASIs. What are you thinking of boosting? I'm curious, Lacara.
I just, for the other ASIs, I just maxed out my con.
I did the same thing.
So that
I
put me
was
up
like,
to... Yeah. That put me up to a 5. I think I'd been at a 3 before that, so that's 2 more. That's another 30, right?
Yeah.
oh my god, I
Okay.
think you have more health than me.
I'm sitting pretty at 168.
Oh my god!
Ow. So you're a long-range tank?
I am a long-range tank that like is terrified of anybody actually coming up to her, but nobody knows why because she can take any like most hits.
I like this. This
Just
is
like stay out of my personal space.
Okay,
this
so we
scares
didn't
me.
do we said we were gonna everyone's gonna get one item from the last page of empowered extras, like the specialty items. But we're not running the full campaign, so we wouldn't have gone for things. But man, I wish I could give your character a pyromancer's ring, which is an item I made up for DM Bacon's character in our campaign. It's the symbol of his warlock pact, but somebody else had made a whole bunch of different rings that were based on elements, and I just didn't like the idea of what they were doing, and I changed them to this, where they store up charges every time you use fire, anything that uses a fire ability, and then you can add those charges on as damage to some attack you're doing that also uses fire.
Wow.
That's on top of her ability to reroll ones. That's scary.
Yeah, that's only for one of my damage types though.
Okay.
That's right, because well,
Huh.
you can do radiant from your eyes, but because one of your abilities, you get to choose another. Oh, so you're gonna have resistance to fire. You already have cold from that, and then whatever your other damage type is gonna be, you'll have
It is
resistance
cold.
to that too. Oh.
I did take cold for that, so it doesn't like. It's a little overlap. I don't get anything extra for that. I'm also taking frost breath.
I was gonna say, I was
Whoa.
thinking of we talked about this last video, but
Yes.
I was thinking if the frost itself doesn't really work for me, but the idea of it slowing people, if we could flavor it as just like a psychic pulse that I throw out to like give
Yeah.
people cognitive drain, that would be cool. But also, I got enough stuff to slow people down.
Yeah, I when you were telling it to me, I was like, it's such a, I like it, but it feels like such a deep reach. It's like such a deep. It's like, do you need more? Do you really need
Okay.
more?
So so I have boring monologue, laser eyes, instinctive reflexes, frost breath, and mist crawler.
Okay, hear me out. Flavor wise, when you Misty Step,
Mhm.
instead of like Nightcrawler's Bamf, like his brimstone cloud, you leave
Mhm.
behind whatever element you used last. Like just a cloud of it.
Yeah.
Sick!
Yeah, I was thinking it would just be like a rime of frost in the air that just kind of shimmers down.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's sick.
The
I
way
love
I'm phrasing it
flavor!
is, she has so she has, because of her personality, because of what's happened to her in her life, she will not do anything to protect herself, really, from like actual hits. So she's not going to take anything like the burst energy that would give her additional health. Her thing is, if I can't run away from it, I deserve to get hit by it.
Ooh. You're moon
Yeah.
knighting it up.
She's a hot mess emotionally. I mean, the items that I have written down for her equipment are a set of common clothes, a Dungeoneer's pack, and a charred family photo that someone else took where no one's smiling.
That's
My heart.
deep. A charred family photo where no one is smiling.
Yep.
That makes me want to put. That
What?
makes me want to put. I had said my character's backstory is. Oh, I looked up the item name and I forgot it already. There's a dwarven hammer that when you get a crit with it, I said it shoots fire out, but what it actually does is it shoots acid out that's incredibly flammable. So if you hit it with fire afterwards, everything goes up in flame. So my character Mentalette was like well, that's not her real name, but that's her superhero name. She's basically like a CPA for a dwarven ale company, and the people were messing around with their hammers and set off an explosion. And she got mental powers, but most of them are dead. So I was like, maybe I should write in the book. Well, they're either dead or they're also empowered. And I was gonna be like, her accounts ledger for the company she worked at is in her inventory.
That's good. So Helsa, her character is, the character name is Helsa Jones. She's a tiefling. She's an orphan. No idea why. Just she doesn't know anything about her parents, her actual parents. She was adopted by a really like well-meaning family. Like they wanted to adopt someone and they felt bad for like tieflings always catching so much crap. But they're also kind of racist against them. So like they wanted to do the right thing, but they were not super supportive of her, which of course drove her more towards like her tiefling roots than like wanting to be like the family that adopted her. And then when she so she became empowered, and that was even rougher for them to deal with. And of course her abilities with fire and everything were like they were really not happy because they saw that as like, you know, an evocation of her like evil background. And so things were getting like rougher and rougher, and then they were out camping and they got caught in a forest fire, and she's the only one that survived from her family because she has the resistance to the fire damage. But she couldn't get them out. She was too young to be able to save her family, and they were killed by the very thing that she can do. So even though it wasn't her fault, she took it really, really hard. And it between the messed up family dynamic and then how they died and everything, it just drove her into a really, really dark space where she was like, I can do this like thing that most people can't do, but it didn't even help. Like they were killed by the same thing. Like I might as well have been the one that did it.
I
And
want to
that's
be your
how
friend.
she's. That's your problem. Stop adopting people like that.
That actually is a
It's my problem in real life.
I know. So, yeah, so that's her background. So depending on whether we're heroes or villains, if we're playing villains, she's just like given up. And if they're heroes, then she like at some point got a little bit wiser. Maybe she like did something that like helped save a kid or at some point or something, and that made her feel like maybe there's a snowball's chance in Helsa to redeem herself.
All right,
So-
now that this projectile music is too happy, there we go. I'll put on Reaper instead. Nothing
There
but
we go.
darkness trapped in it, molded by it.
Is that my cue to know? Now you guys got me It's ironic though, but now that you guys have been given some backstory, I feel like it's almost have to tell you guys about my character.
I need to
Yeah.
know
I
why
did
you're
go
in a
with the name.
fundoshi 24/7.
My character's name is Alton Nerth. He is, of course, a drow. He doesn't really know how or why he likes to build things, but he does work at the equivalent of an electronics store in his city. He's always just kind of had a weird sense of right and wrong. And in turn, he really has a terrible sensitivity ever since he was born, and no one could explain why. Polite. So naturally, he just always stayed in the shadows. And as such, because he loves to live in shadow, he has decided to take the shadows onto himself and become the greatest villain or hero, to be determined, possible. However, he also has a terrible skin condition, and most of his clothes make his skin itch. So he tends to fight crime in the buff, with only his fundoshi on, and a Tengu mask that he designed himself. He is the borderline idea of criminal mastermind meets freakazoid, and he goes by the alias of Nyx, which, if you are a fan of any kind of good old-fashioned mythology, you'll know is the goddess in Greek mythology of the night.
That was the name of my first D&D character.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I liked the name Nyx, and I forgot that I was just like, I could use Nyx. It's 2024. You can use Nyx for whatever you want.
That is awesome.
I love it. I love everything.
I'm excited. I really now think that these characters will end up having to be potentially on the wrong side of the law. I think they'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
If not full heroes, definitely the D team that absolutely could care less if this thing goes right or wrong.
Like Suicide Squad.
Yes, very much the anti-heroes.
I went. Now my mask seems incredibly bad, considering
Nick,
everyone
you're-
else is so dark.
Nyx, Nyx is like an anime waiting to happen. I would watch that anime.
Yes. I think especially because now with some of the additions that we got, one of the things I picked up was Demolisher, which gave me improvised weapons that get an insane scaling.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I don't need to see anything and I can just be naked and throwing remotes and all sorts of things at people for like D10 damage is amazing.
Oh, I gotta find it. It's in the repository somewhere.
It's like early 1980s Jackie Chan.
Yes.
Yes.
He's like that movie Blank Man. But when the so here's my, obligatory point to telling everyone to like, comment, subscribe, and subscribe to the Patreon so you can see the video when we put it up. I've come up with a great idea for the vocal range I want to use for this character, as influenced by some things Okami has told me. And
I'm gonna spit my
I'm
drink out.
looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to giving everyone the best drow I've ever played in my lifetime. Which is the only drow I've ever played in my lifetime. But
I
the other
can't
thing I
wait for
wanted to
this.
say, the other thing I wanted to say about Demolisher is this thing that makes it scary is it also gives your improvised weapons throw range, longbow range.
Oh my god.
You get a long range of 180 feet and a short range of 60 feet with thrown improvised weapons.
Did you take any of the things like Keen Sight or anything to go with that?
Yes, I took
Yeah.
Dare Demon to give myself the Tremor Sense Blind. I wanted to take Keen Sight, but I actually swapped it out to improve my grappling.
Mm-hmm.
I would have taken I wanted to also take Perfect Landing, but I was like, no. We're keeping flat on the ground.
I was also thinking about
Yeah.
taking Perfect Landing and like saying that almost like Cyclops when he shoots his optic blast at the floor to slow himself down. Like I'm using my vectors to slow myself down.
Yeah, I thought about taking Perfect Landing too, and then I realized I have wings.
Fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, I just have a ton of dexterity. I'm really not worried.
Yeah. You could just flavor that that's how you land all the time anyway.
Yeah, it's just like slam. That's what I wanted to do.
I was gonna say when you said Demolisher, that if you had downtime or some other reason, I brought them up on the screen. This is like one of the feats that I had found way back when, and I believe the rogue in my campaign is using one of the striker feats. But basically, you get to choose one of these, and they'll improve like your attacks with certain weapons.
Mm. That's actually kind of cool. I do think that improvised weapons and just thrown weaponry as a whole is kind of, in 5e at least, from what I've seen, it's kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's so underpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1d4 at level 20.
Yeah.
The game that I'm currently playing in with one of the DMs that we've mentioned here before, XL Clubs, Hard Clubs, with the system we use has a lot of flavor for every weapon, so weapons have a lot of special abilities, something that seems to have been forgotten. And you have a lot of things like bolas, you have blow darts of different varying types, and like all these different things. And one of my favorite items about the bolas, which is pretty much is like a capture item, you can capture someone, or you can knock somebody out. And knocking someone out in second edition essentially sets them up to just instantly die. Like magical sleep in second edition, there is no survival. If you put someone to magical sleep, you can literally, if you put a dragon to sleep somehow, you can instant kill it in the same turn.
Yikes.
Yes.
It seems very broken.
That's why you also don't want to get hit with magical sleep in second edition, because if you get put to magical sleep, they just instantly kill you.
If that's how it still was in 5e, I think my campaign would have been a whole lot different. Where the bard in the party in the game I run, like for the first, I don't know, 25 sessions or so, the only spell they would cast on people was sleep. And then at one point they went to go help someone who was missing, and it turned out to be an assassin that came for them. And the very next session, when somebody came after them, everyone was like, "Oh, okay, we don't know. You don't have to tell us what you're gonna do. We know you're gonna cast sleep." The player was like, "I cast shatter," and we were like, "Ah!" Everyone lost their minds.
Like, oh, this is no time for sleep. This is time for violence.
That's cool. I just looked up Enthrall because I was like, I don't actually know that spell.
I didn't know
And
that spell either. I was like, "Huh?"
yeah, I wasn't sure I was gonna find it in PHP. But it lets me, so I can cast it once per long rest. I can basically just like keep anyone from noticing anyone else if they fail the wisdom save.
Oh, you and Nyx are a
Oh, yeah.
terrifying combo.
We're gonna be a fun team.
I I said sent it to DM Shin as a joke a while back. I was like, you know what ability what astounding power I have to take? I have to take orbital toss. So we're gonna slow everyone
Oh.
down. I'm gonna grab them with my mind, and I'm gonna throw them back. They will never get anywhere.
I have a flashback to a completely unrelated video that Okami and I did, in which we were playing Zivator's Marvel Avengers game, in which we were just slamming people and chain grabs. I'm just imagining my character choking them after they've been blasted and burned to death, and then you coming out of nowhere with your mind and yeeting them into the sky. Or me choking them, you yeeting them, and then them getting blasted into flames in the middle of the sky.
Eat. Yep.
Nobody. It's not a
Layers.
thing in this world for people to say pull, like when you're skeet shooting. Instead, it's just yeah, yeet.
They're called
That's
yeets
why they don't
instead of
hire
feats.
us. That's why they don't hire us to save anybody, because we're just pulling them out the building. They'll be all right.
You said you wanted them out. You didn't say where you wanted them after that.
You didn't tell us where you put the pillows, the cushions. Okay, you just said get them out. We did it.
You are severely non-specific. And then I always use the boring monologue to get us out of trouble afterwards. Go into a speech thing, tell about why we did what we did. They're like, just go away until we call you again.
Where are the Great Lakes Avengers? Where are the Great Lakes Avengers?
Nobody wants us around. We just disappeared.
Great.
That's gonna be fun.
All right. What else do we got? Oh, so in addition to the 5 astounding powers that you picked, we had said before as a group we agreed the astounding powers and empowered extras that are specific to your power manifestation everyone was just going to get for free because there's stuff that you should already get for free. And we didn't. Shin and I enabled them at level 10, but you could read the prereq levels as like when you're supposed to get them, so 5 and 9. Or like if one of your players does something really cool and you're like, you just learned how to do this, I think it would also work.
Yeah.
So you're going to get...
I got Kill a Jewel, that's where I pick up a second damage type. Which I took cold. If we do end up being villains, I might switch it to necrotic.
Ooh.
Spooky.
Ooh.
Wait, do you only have one? Are you the only one that has one?
The only one that has one what?
Extra. Yeah, you're the... Conduit is the only one that has... Oh, wait, no, I think Speed Demon only has one. Shin and I both got 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, you don't need to be any extra. You've got a unibeam in your chest.
Unibeam.
And then I think we said one item from the artifact list, right?
Yeah. I took the Vengeful Weave.
Wait, are you flavoring it though the way
We
that
have
I wanted you
which
to
one was
flavor
that?
He immediately thought weave like hair.
I wanted to have a violent,
I forgot about
angry
that.
hair. I just wanted to have violently angry hair
Yes, it's
that
so
just
good.
orally tosses people.
It's like oh, have you guys watched Freeran?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like Sensa or whatever her name was, the one that
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's like what it would be.
You know
It
what?
really would.
I could flavor this the same as so when you guys were like, oh, you're describing your outfits and what have you, and your masks and stuff. I've been workshopping what I want my mask to be. And essentially, it's like a domino mask, but it's got like two hands sort of outstretched, like fingers outstretched, heading off the sides of her head. And I was gonna say I flavor it when she uses anything psychic, it glows pink, like all the mental constructs do in Marvel Comics. So I'm gonna look incredibly stupid. But for Vengeful Weave, it could be like there's a device in my hair that when I pour my psychic energy into it, it just kind of spreads over my body, kind of like Bayonetta, how her hair is her outfit.
Mm.
That's cool.
I love flavor. I had a conversation. So Grimbo had said in the chat that he wants to be an idol next, which is one of the power manifestations for empowered. And the conversation we had, I was like, okay, I had said before, you need like some biological augment or something to make your character make sense because the idol's level 3 ability is when you punch someone, you punch them so hard that one of your teammates gets a buff. I was like, logically, it doesn't make sense. Like, the only one that makes sense is if you punch someone so hard it made their teammates run faster. So I was like, you gotta have something to do. So originally I had said like if you had like a little tail, like in a mutant manifestation, sorry, the hybrid manifestation, that like shot a spine into one of your teammates when you punch someone, like it's triggered by violence. That could make sense. But then we were like, oh, if you were gifted your powers by a god, and when you punched someone, like part of your godly essence slips out. That could make a little bit more sense. Because as it is right now, it's like you're hitting someone so hard that your teammates are like, hell yeah! And suddenly they're stronger. That's not really. Or they're better at blocking, or they're faster, which it doesn't really make sense from a mechanics standpoint.
Hmm.
Yeah. None of these items really appeal to me except Magneto's helmet, but it makes no sense for my character.
And it's weak.
Yeah.
They really
I would
like
just do it in support of Magneto though.
they really suck at they really hate telekinesis because my 15th level ability, or no, 13th, whatever. One of my the penultimate ability for Esper is I learn telekinesis, but I can only use it on objects that aren't being worn or carried.
It's like you're supposed to have mental powers. That's like the first thing you learn.
It's like, oh. So when we were workshopping it, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna cheat this. If you were playing an Esper in my campaign, you got this. I would let you use telekinesis to grab things in the environment and pull yourself towards them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Secondly, that stuff isn't being worn or carried, so you can grab it. And normally you can lift things up to 1,000 pounds. So I even made a joke. I was like, I would go on a diet before I hit 1,000 pounds. So
Yeah, I actually don't think I want any of these items.
They're because of who I am. I took the spider silk bracers
Mhm.
primarily because I think it would be fun to have them used to go from dark area to dark area and kind of use ceiling and ceiling corners now, especially with the increased ability to throw improvised weapons with pure strength die.
Mhm.
So it kind of just it makes me very effective at either range. I just have to change my strategy a little bit, but there aren't really anything. There's nothing really in there that makes me go, I need that item.
Yeah.
So I can understand it. Like certain things sound cool. I think you had mentioned before about something about I think both of you had mentioned with different points the Scarlet Cape.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, I
you
was
saying
gonna
you were
take
thinking
it.
about that. Oh, but you can already fly, so you don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah. I
What?
might take the untethered boots, maybe.
But it
Huh?
says technically Scarlet Cape says, hey, if you already have flight through the astounding power, you can choose another power. I mean, we'd let you choose another power because you can already fly.
Yeah, but I don't have the flight astounding power because I've already got wings.
That's what I mean. I would say that's fine. It's the same. They're part of your body.
That's
It's still con.
it's it's okay. I'll take the hang on, what does Wild Leap give you?
I know you want that trident.
Uh yeah, I guess I'll take Wild Leap. I guess I'm too lazy to use my wings sometimes. Oh, actually, I could still do Wild Leap if somebody's like tied me up. As long as they haven't tied my legs up.
Hmm.
You know,
I'm going
and look
untethered
at
boots. Oh, that's actually that fits into your character really well. Like someone's getting a little too
yeah,
close, and you're just like, bye.
Yep.
too close sleep. I like that.
In our campaign, I think it's the boots of striding and springing or something. But
Yep.
basically, you can fall as long as you want. As long as you land on your feet, you won't take damage. And like you can
Mhm.
never be encumbered while you're wearing them. And our rogue is constantly jumping down from things, being like, "It's not gonna hurt me. Bye."
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna look at like beat up high tops.
I like that. I think I'm gonna swap off the spider silk bracers, and I'm gonna flavor it in. And I think I'm gonna flavor my wondrous item into my character's natural design already. Like I'm gonna switch to the black mask. Something DM
Ooh.
Lacara mentioned before about keen vision.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The black mask gives it to you with night vision, which I already have as a drow. So it's kind of just over enhanced night vision at this point.
Oh, if you already have one of those, you can swap out the second power.
Yeah.
So I have it as a racial trait.
I would say that comes from your con. That's fine by me.
Yeah, because you said you
Oh,
took keen vision,
yes.
right?
No, I wanted to. I had wanted
Mm.
to, but I swapped away from it.
Well, actually, what does night
This will
vision as a
give me.
power give you? Let's see.
I can see in both magical and non-magical darkness a distance of 120 feet.
Oh my god, this is perfect. I can cast darkness as a racial trait.
You can seeing in magical darkness is so good.
I
Yeah.
think that's actually kind of perfect then, because I'm just always going to see something.
Yeah.
Hmm. I like this. I like
And
this.
you can sense it even if you can't see it.
Yeah,
Hmm. I
if it's
feel
And
it.
touching the ground, and
it
or
helps.
ooh.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And I can help out with the like casting extra darkness too because I'm going to be setting a lot of stuff on fire. So,
Ooh.
Actually, technically, if you're capable of sparking things as a bonus action, if you were capable of sparking anything on fire as a bonus action somehow, you could light any improvised projectile I throw from 180 feet away on fire to add technically D4 fire damage to every projectile thrown in the pure strength die.
Oh, that's good.
Could literally lob Molotov cocktails from 180 feet away.
If I've got Hellish Rebuke popped, you can just light the projectile off of me.
Oh, that's right. I just have to just stand there and just put my hand over it and just start flinging. So now we've got tactical ranged combat. I think this team's a little dangerous. I definitely don't think these people are heroes. The more we flavor
They're
out,
trying.
not really. I don't think
Are
I don't think we're trying very much.
We're kind of like, I wouldn't say we're as organized as them, but there's a team of, essentially they're the superheroes of Waterdeep. And I think the funniest thing about them is that, like, their base is in the middle of Waterdeep. But one of the members is a frost giant. And he just, like, comes out the building and he's definitely crushing things as he's walking down the street. I'm like, he can't, like, come on. You couldn't make him smaller for when he's in the city?
Why would you do that?
Takes all the fun out of it.
Yeah, I think Jimbo's right. We're kind of anti-heroes. We're like the X-Force. We'll do the jobs nobody else wants. Not government-sponsored X-Force. That's different. That's selling out.
We work for no one but ourselves.
We're the kind of group that, like, hears screaming down the alleyway and we're like, ooh, what's that?
Ooh, I just realized that you said you maxed out your con, right? So at level 15, the ability we get is Never Say Die. And that's on all your death saving throws, you add your proficiency plus your con modifier. So you, like me, can never fail unless we get nat ones.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, we would have to get 2 nat ones to die. That's better than plot armor.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
I got up to a +3 on my con because I really wanted to pump into my dex. But alongside everything else and the fact that I'm just not planning to be seen, I think I won't have to worry too often about a death save. I hope. However, ninjutsu is a fun ability that got slapped on there too, so I can use a quarterstaff if I want.
Oh, sweet.
Your other abilities that you get just from being in the class are Haymaker. So whenever you make an unarmed strike using strength, you can choose to take a -5 penalty on the attack roll, but then if the strike hits, you get to add another pure strength die onto it, plus your con modifier. That's how I was getting the the 3d10 plus 10 stuff. And then all of our attacks are magical. But I mean, you're shooting lasers, so I'm going to consider those magical to begin with.
Yeah.
And extra attack at level 5.
Oh.
And I think your
I've
energy
never played
beam...
anything that got that.
Yeah. So your energy beam is taking the new Dragonborn ability, where later on they added that you can swap out your breath for one of your attacks in an extra attack. So you can actually double laser every turn.
That's gonna be fun.
And 14th level gave you that final energy blast for that cone, line, or spear. 10-foot radius spear.
Oh, that one's like you're calling... what is that thing called? Anvil of Dawn. Like Halo, like you mark the target and then everything rains down from above. You're
Each
like
creature in that area.
You're like displacing the matter so it appears above them and then rains down on them. That's cool.
That's amazing. On a failed save, creatures take infusion damage equal to 2 rolls of your pure strength die. If your energy beam is charged, add your con modifier to this damage. So
Nice.
2 rolls of your pure strength die, which is at 15th level, which
D10.
is a D10. So 2d10 plus 5 minimum.
That's
That's a lot
strong
of
to a
damage.
bunch of people. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
And
and to
then
an area of effect.
at 7th level, you also get Hazard Zone, where if anyone moves in or out of reach of you, you can use your. Instead of making an opportunity attack, you just whack them with your energy. So you're just pulsing it out. And your unarmed strikes start doing your infusion. So you can punch fire into people or punch cold into people. Oh, it's sick!
Yeah, anyone that gets too close, you leap away and just slap them across the face with a burning hand.
Yeah.
Gotta
Get
keep your
away.
pimp hand strong. And then I think that's pretty much everything for you.
Yeah. Should be good.
Now, I don't want to say that it will. Oh, were the Wildcats? I would rather be. I mean, I guess the Wildcats are okay. I would rather be. What is
Human
that
Samurai
team
Cyber
name?
Squad.
I want to be the hardcore. Are they Image? I think they're Image Comics. Whatever. They're a bunch of they're mercenaries. So in that universe, basically, harbingers are the same thing as mutants. Um, and there's a mercenary squad where it's all regular baseline humans, but they have augments in them where they can ask their operator to give them a power that's been classified and studied from one of the harbingers in their universe. They can have one at a time. So like when they go into battle, they're just regular dudes with guns. But if they need a power like, oh, I need telekinesis, they can call in like, I need telekinesis. And they'll
That's
keep that power for a little while. And like that idea is so cool. And also because it was the 90s and everything was bloody and disgusting. Like the way that they used their powers were just mwah.
They also had glorious hair.
That's true. Very glorious hair.
Everyone's hair was flowingly glorious.
My I like I just think of this moment lives rent free in my head. They were fighting this guy that was like sort of like Wolverine, but he was also buff and like they couldn't beat him. He was impervious to all their guns and what have you. And one of the hardcore guys is like, "All right, I'm going to try something." And they're like, "Okay." And he goes, "Operator, intangibility." And she's like, "Are you going to run?" And he goes, "No." He turns intangible. He walks into the guy, like does like the not a T pose, but like the Leonardo da Vinci Vitruvian Man pose, and then he goes tangible, and the dude just explodes all over the page.
oh
Vicious. But I respect it.
Valiant, there we go. They're Valiant. Oh, how could I forget that? I mean, Image was also pretty violent back in the day as well. I don't like my dad. Valiant Comics, I think they had already folded at the time, but like my dad would go to the dollar store and that's what he would give me. Be like, "Oh, I bought like 35 comics for you. Here you go." Don't give children old Valiant comics, man. There's so much death and dismemberment in them. Don't give your children those.
Everyone's built like they're either full of steroids or on every single substance known to man, or full of just air and plastic. That's all I remember of comics from the 90s.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
mhm.
And everyone has an X in their name, even if they're not mutants.
Oh yeah. Edgy.
Adam X. He is actually a mutant though, so he doesn't count. But just add an X onto anybody's name.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, what I was gonna say before I my choo-choo train in my brain just was like bye-bye. Is that I don't want to jinx this, but I'm pretty sure Bacon isn't gonna join us to fix up his character at any point. So we'll
Yeah.
probably move on from this. But like Shin had mentioned before, we're hoping to run a one-shot with another DM friend of ours with these characters. So we're going to move on to something else besides the Empowered for a while. But feel free if you have anything. If you're watching this later, if you're in the chat now, you can ask us questions about our characters, what have you. The characters we'll have all their character sheets up in a Google Drive link that is currently visible on the description of this video on YouTube and the description of the last video of the Empowered, because that's when we started like going through our character sheets. Those will be up and filled so you can look at what we've done, ask us questions that way, use our characters as templates if you want for some reason, if you're crazy. But I think, keeping in with like the original theme that I had for this series, we're gonna just take a look, see through the next set of bookmarks, and the next ones all happen to be little creatures with blurbs and then like what they do. I was thinking we could look through those, and I had mentioned it to the rest of the DMs, like maybe we could think about how the characters we just made would combat those creatures. Not necessarily something we have to do every time, but we could do it that way. But if you guys are willing, would you like to look at some other creatures? Some random homebrew stuff?
I'm going to take a peek at random beings.
I should also be able to stream it on Discord if you don't want to come to one of the streams, DM Lacara.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I think Shin's already in one, that's why I didn't say. Let me just write down.
I'm definitely down for it. Just see if the wheels stop falling off life in general.
I'm honestly surprised you came and hung out with us, because if I were you, I would have just laid in bed the whole rest of the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go do that now. No, man, I still work today.
Oh.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think I'm gonna hop off and.
Thank you for joining us. Eventually, your character, well, the current sheet, we have one of your sheets up there already. I'll put up in the link.
Literally just sent you the new one in.
You're the best.
In the chat.
You're the best around.
Oh, it's one of those things where people are like, wow, you're so efficient. I'm like, it's literally because I have zero memory. So if I don't do the thing immediately, it's not going to get done.
100%. I 100% agree with that. When my aunt was staying with us at one point, she was like, why do you do everything the second I tell you to do it or ask you to do it? And I'm like, if I walk out of this room, I won't remember that you asked me to do something. My brain's going to move on.
You know what? For your birthday this year, I know I told you I already knew what I was getting you. I think I'm also buying you a planner.
Oh no! Wait, I have to. I'm gonna bring this up on. I think I can show this. Hold on, 1 sec, y'all. I'm just gonna. 1 second. Let's see if this works. Oh wait, that's not what I wanted. Don't do that. Let me see if this works. It does. Okay, so I'll share this in Discord for you as well, so you can see it. Share my screen. Give me this. Go. Okay, so the DM Shin has seen this before. This is my productivity tracker, and these are all the things that I'm supposed to do. This is everything that I've crowdfunded. We don't care about that right now. It's huge. Like all the D&D tasks I still have to do for myself. There's so many of them. All the YouTube tasks I want to do for myself. Oh, it's not here anymore. I compressed it. Okay, so there used to be a section that said New Year tasks, and it was there for like 3-4 years. And the first time, it is here. I went past it. One of the top things on it was buy Red Robin seasoning, the French fry seasoning, and it was
on there
for years.
I
DM
almost
Shin
forgot
used to
about
make
this.
fun of me for it every time. Like, why is it just buy it? No, I have to do it in order.
It would drive me insane because he would bring it up and I would see it and he would show me stuff on there because I'd always be like, oh, if there's anything on there that you think I could like help you knock off the list, just let me know. Like, and I would see it and I would just say to him, just like, can we just get the seasoning?
Can we
And I
just
knew
build
that,
one of these things?
and I knew that if I bought you the seasoning, it would throw you off.
It's true.
It would completely destroy your equilibrium. And I was like, I can't. As fast of a solution as that will be, it'll create a much greater long-standing problem. I will not throw you in a loop. It was in my Amazon cart for like 3 months.
Oh, man.
I
Waiting.
did finally buy it. I do have a bottle of it.
Coming over and using the whole thing. Entire thing.
But yeah, I'm there's that, and then I have. I guess I can show you these two. Wait, I'll switch the camera for a second. I can also show you guys. I take lots of regular notes that are all checklist based. That's my version of a planner.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you a planner. Definitely. No, somebody I know got like really into like the planner world recently, and it was like they keep trying to get me into it and like buy different ones and everything. I've tried a couple at this point, and I'm like, okay, some of these you gotta find the one that's like laid out the way your brain thinks. But like,
Mmm.
once you do, you're like, oh, this helps.
Hmm.
Oh,
I mean, I'd be
alright.
willing to try.
Mhm.
I
Alright,
do like
I'm gonna go.
lists. But yes, go
Yeah,
sleep, recover,
I'm gonna go sleep.
gain your
Okay.
It was
powers.
fun as always, DM Lacara.
Yeah.
Thank you. It is always fun with you guys.
See, we're
Forward to the next
fun
time.
people. Doesn't that make you guys want to hang around more?
Subscribe.
Love me.
I just see you as in the Steve Buscemi meme, just sucking kids with the skateboard over his shoulder when you said it like that.
How do you do, fellow D&Ders? Oh, I used to
Just
have a skateboard. Where is it? I would want to. I could put a I could put a baseball cap on backwards. I gotta find this. No, I don't have the skateboard anymore. My best friend growing up has it now. Well, I'm pretty sure it's broken, but oh man, that's a cosplay I could do.
that's a quick. If you ever need one, just pull out of the closet.
Should go to
Okay, let's see
Comic
what we
Con one
got
year
here.
like that.
You'll win. Not even it's not even a victory, but you'll win. Let's see what we got here.
I'm gonna start with an ooh sound. Okay, so just so all of you guys and gals know, none of these particular bookmarks are arranged in any particular order. It was just I came across them, they went in this section of my bookmarks. So it's not like I have them grouped up or anything like that. So this is clearly going to be a monstrosity. It was made by magic, and it's neither hound nor ooze. Ooze.
It looks like it was ripped off a Magic the Gathering card.
Yep. Let's see. Yep, it's a thrashing moss dog.
I just saw it on the side when I saw the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Sharp eyes. Just
I will say that there are a ton of like based on the clerical and air quote streams I've been doing on Twitch lately, like there's so much good art in Magic to rip to use for your tabletop RPGs and like
Mhm.
abilities and other stuff like that. Like there's so much to rip from.
It's kind of scary when you think about it. And I mean, granted, and we'll probably, I'm sure you'll have an episode delving into this at a different point. Uh, but when you really start to rip apart D&D Beyond, if you're a digital DM like I am, I'm primarily a digital DM.
Mm.
I hate ripping apart the formulas necessary to get things to work digitally.
Mm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Uh,
mm-hmm.
but you do become a part-time mathematician doing so, as well as a borderline coder
Yeah,
by the time
like
you're done.
figuring out like the D&D Beyond system. I've seen people complain about this on the subreddit for it a bunch of times, where they're like, okay, we all know as users how unintuitive it is, but we like they can't just straight fix things, and that's really the problem. Where people are like, you don't understand how many layers of changes have been made in the background because D&D Beyond was like, for lack of a better term, like set up on someone's computer in the basement. Like there's so many levels of changes they've made to make it function as is that it's so hard for them to go back and fix things that need to be fixed. Like the fact that you can't make mundane items is dumb. But they're like, we can't fix that. You don't understand how much work would go into fixing that.
I personally just want it fixed.
Yeah.
I've painstaking. You can pull apart certain monsters that do exist formulas and try and recreate it from there if it's similar, but it's messy. Like I
Mm.
said, I'm sure you'll, and if anyone ever has questions about it, or if you are trying to digital DM, feel free to reach out to me, and I will help you to the best of my abilities as I have sat down with D&D Beyond's madness. Well, I'm
Yeah.
primarily on Roll20 now.
Same. If you guys need help with stuff, we will do our best to help you. I do have a lot of. Maybe that could also be a type of clerical stream. As you saw on the productivity tracker, there's a lot of D&D tasks. And a lot of them are like, oh, grab this spell, put it in, grab this item, put it in. You could do streams out of that too if you guys just want to hang out.
Making my ways downtown.
But back to the ooze. Okay, so the way that this stat block and I think the next 4 or 5, they're all from the same person. Um, the way that they have it set up is they're trying to keep in line with how like the DMG monsters and the bestiary monsters have it, where like there's some info about what they do in their lairs, which is great. And if that's the kind of stuff you're into, like figuring out this creature exists in a world, how does it act? I highly recommend looking into the monsters know what they're doing. It's a it's a blog originally, but there's a whole bunch of books. And Keith Amon, the author, like he just goes into this is how this creature functions, and he compares it to like the biology of real world creatures, because obviously fantasy creatures are weird, but they have some kind of like biological consistencies with current creatures, like current existing creatures. So he goes into like how they would probably act based on what they've got going on for them. And I think that that's really cool, though there are other people who are on the other end of the spectrum where they're like, well, this is fantasy. Maybe they wouldn't do any of that anyway. And they're just in my world, so I can put them wherever they are. But if you're looking for what a creature biologically would do based on what they've got, that's a great resource for helping you both world build and set up encounters. Like this solitary hunters thing really kicked that in for me. It's like, oh, it might tolerate creatures that are significantly smaller than it that don't seem like threats. That's a neat thing. That also happens in dogs, where like if you have very small pets like guinea pigs or stuff, your dogs won't attack them because they're so much smaller they don't perceive them as threats.
And it's also it's fun also because you can have NPCs give little hints to these kinds of traits as well, so that your players can interact with the creatures in interesting ways for encounters and things of that nature. If you're having a quest be that they have to capture this thing, it might be good to know that they are not going to maybe be perceived as threats, so they have to find a way to make themselves appealing to pull this thing out. You could have a lot of fun there.
Yeah, like exactly using the unlikely guard dogs. Like here, it's like, oh, despite being aggressive, some small creatures like kobolds have been like, ah, we can raise this thing to, fight for us. That's cool. I like that. And me reading the Covered in Slime based on the conversation we just had, like this would be the great kind of thing, or a great kind of thing for the three of our characters that are empowered to be sent on a mission to get, because none of us want anything close to us. And we will
At
slay
all.
everything down.
At all. I don't want anything relatively close to me.
But let's look at the actual stat block. Did come up as a monstrosity because it's magically created. That makes sense. Actually, I'm going to zoom out once. There we go. So you can actually read the whole stealth bot. Stealth, what? Nope. That's because I read. My brain, man. Stat block. There we go.
Okay.
Smelly is a really interesting trait.
It is. Perception as a whole, which is a very interesting thing, because perception is probably one of the most dominant, I'd say, traits in D&D. Like you're always, I think if you're having a game session on a day, you're gonna roll at least 3 to 5 perception checks per session. I feel like every DM, I think at one point I even wondered if I was rolling too many perception checks in my campaign. But I think the crazy thing about this especially is 120 feet is a large area. So to know where something is within 120 feet of you, most creatures can't close that gap.
And like this specifically doesn't say creatures who have keen senses. It's just if you smell, you find it. So that could also, like this trait, yes, it's great in an encounter, but you could just take that trait by itself and use that to be like how the characters, like they get a job in town, there's a job on the board, like something smelly is in the swamp, small animals keep disappearing, that kind of thing. Like you could use that specific trait to sort of lead your characters, your players on to be like, yo, this thing, we have to go hunt it. I think we can find it if we sniff it out.
Yeah. Though I do like the additional ability it has here, sticky. Things that can violate gravity in D&D are frightening, because you now gain your short sword attack against this ooze-like creature has now gone from stabbing in front of it to now trying to stab above you at some awkward angle, or stab to the side of you, or attempt to reach a ceiling.
Yeah,
that
this guy's
changes
got
battle.
10 feet of range, so he could stay up on the ceiling and slap the crap out of you before you could get near him.
And in most cases, a long sword, or most players, if you have a long sword, you would need some kind of weapon with reach to extend into that additional 5-foot range to hit this thing based on your character's height. Now this gets really kind of scary, and especially with it's 10 feet, but it's also based on the size of this creature and the space you're within. So there's a lot of factors that could turn disadvantageous for your entire party.
I'm a little. This is just a me thing, but its tentacle slap, I was expecting it to deal acid or poison damage, but instead it just gives you the sticky property, and it's its bite that deals poison damage. I would expect the con save that you have to roll from the tentacle slap to give you to also apply the poison because it's gooey sticky. But this guy, he just slows you down so that he can bite you.
I think maybe it's kind of one of those things where I think its mimics do acid damage in their bites. No, there's a creature that exists that does some kind of additional damage. No, I'm thinking of Pathfinder. That's my mistake. Sorry, I have Pathfinder brain. There are certain creatures in various tabletops that I've come across, though, in which they do the additional damage in a way that uses like their teeth or their fang or like their claws and stuff like that, but never like their physical body parts. Like I think there was this like kraken-like creature. It's poisonous, but the poison only applies if it bites you with its maw, or if it uses a turn to protrude a spike from its tentacle to hit you with. But its base tentacle isn't, poisonous. So maybe they're kind of trying to add that little additional flair where it has to pull you in to like secrete it from within, kind of like how a snake has to bite you to poison you, but just touching it won't hurt you.
I read more of Tentacle Slap where the first time it slows you. If it gets you again with the slap, then it's restrained. So I guess I was wondering why for multi-attack it makes 4 tentacle slaps, or just its regular action is to bite. So this guy's actual, like, action economy wise, he's trying to tentacle slap one person. Like he's probably going to swing all 4 tentacles at one person so that hopefully he can grapple you. And then next turn, he's going to bite you with advantage.
Oh yeah, that's genius. With
so,
a 5-foot reach?
This creature's whole shtick is, you might think, oh, I want a tentacle slap for specific players. But based on its stat block, what it's really trying to do is it's trying to grab one person at a time and then finish them off with a bite. Because while the tentacle slaps themselves are pretty weak, they're just there for CC, essentially. The bite is the real scary part.
Kind of weak, but you've got to look at it again. 1d6 plus 2, you're looking at on average. So we're looking at 3 to 8 damage a turn, 4 times. So anywhere from 12 to 32 damage. That's kind of scary, depending on your level and class. This does seem to be it does seem to be a little bit of a lower CR seeming creature, based on its stats as well. Yeah, challenge rating 3. That's not too high. So if you think about it, if this catches hold of the wrong person, it could be lights out before you even get, or it could be a low health situation before you even get to the bite.
Well, just wait. 4 slaps. If it's 1d6 plus 2, so 5, 10, 15, 20.
It's gonna be 12 to 32.
Max 6, 12, 8. Yeah. I was gonna get the average, 20. But I would think that the way that it is built is different from its. That's a weird way to put it. This is kind of like when they're saying he's a guard dog, it makes sense. Where he's going for one person at a time. Like, you wouldn't necessarily want to try slapping 4 people. You want to get that one guy there so you can bite him, lights out, and then move on to the next one.
No, absolutely. I also think though that it's scary who it bites or who it grapples. Because it could also if it hits the right person and someone runs in the wrong way, it could get a bite at someone who originally wasn't trying to grapple too, if you're in the wrong range.
True.
Like, I don't think I would have a problem flavoring that a player bending down to pick somebody up or to try and free someone is in danger of getting bitten as well.
Oh, for sure. It could bite someone else. But imagine, like, not necessarily they're saying guard dogs, but if, say, they're saying, kobolds, what have you, if the kobolds really have it trained, they could be like, go get that one guy. It charges out into town, what have you, sniffs out, assuming however it finds people. Obviously, people are going to know it there. Most people are going to avoid it because it smells like rotten eggs and also, tentacles and mouth and all that jazz. But if you sent this out to get one person, like if it found them all by themselves, slapped the crap out of them, and then bit them, like it could carry them home on its back. Because its tentacles don't do damage by themselves, it could carry someone while they're stabilized or while they're not without risk of killing them. This is a good thing to send after, like, one. It's like, say your BBEG or whoever, like the guy in town that owns ooze hounds, like he runs a ooze hound fighting ring or something like that. He could send 2 ooze hounds to go capture someone, and it does a lot of damage for a CR3 creature. So if it's just getting one person, it can bring them home without real risk of killing them if they're trained well.
Additionally, it has the +6 to stealth as a natural bonus. And the fact it does bludgeoning damage on its slaps means that it's capable of doing non-lethal damage. Which is something I don't think is often applied to monsters, because most times people assume that the monster just wants to just kill you. But it can club someone clearly, drag them back, like you said, because the tentacles don't do damage on their own unless it's in the slap. And potentially bite someone down into low health to then slap the crap out of them again. So you could potentially get slapped, bitten, and slapped again.
Thank you.
Not to mention, it's going to be fun. Now, I know you had mentioned how would my character fight this, the character I just created. Quite honestly, I think this character I think my character would have a lot of difficulty with this. It would be a completely ranged battle, which thankfully I would be okay with. I do believe I would probably utilize a lot of the magical darkness that Nyx has to limit the amount of attacks it can throw at me successfully, but additionally give myself about 120-foot advantage and range that I can work within, that I can perfectly see within, and hit this thing with whatever is in my pocket.
I've been thinking that it has dark vision, but not for magical sources. And the cool thing is, even if you couldn't see it, the people you were with, as long as they sniff it out, they can still, they don't necessarily have to see it, but they have a pretty good gist of where it is because it's so stinky.
Yeah. Though I'll know exactly where it is. I will light it up with paint if I have to. with fluorescent paint that glows in the dark. I'll just. Ooh, that could be fun. Well, I mean, it's magical darkness. I'd have to get magical cutting paint.
I think honestly, because this creature is very CC heavy, I think that my character and it would get into essentially a slap fight, where my character would be like, "No, you don't slow people. I slow people."
As this thing just tries to slap you to take you back. Granted, our health pools are way too high for it to ever take us.
Yeah, it would have to bite us for days.
It would literally have to slap, bite. Yeah. No, short of an infinite combo in the corner, like a fighting game, I don't think this thing is taking out a level 15 empowered.
Oh,
but
man. Lower leveled, maybe.
Yeah. And outside of the empowered, I think I would throw this at my party Sewer adventures are something I'm not a stranger to.
Fair, fair.
And I think it could be a lot of fun to have these guard dog creatures, or maybe like a bandit group that trained oozes and slimes to commit crimes underneath a city.
Ooh. They just like pop a little bit out of grates and stuff and then slide back down into them. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, they've trained oozes, slimes, mimics, and that's just how they've functioned.
Oh, I like that. Look at that. You could run a whole campaign off that.
Or at least a small adventure. I could probably write
We
an
must
adventure in that.
defeat the Sticky Fingers Guild.
There you go. The city has been tormented by a rash spree of crimes that all seem to leave sticky residue everywhere.
Look
The
at that.
guards and the captain are unsure of what to do. Your party's been hired to figure out what's going on and why the city smells so bad. Bam.
Oh, that's great. I definitely will. Okay, so I'm going to put this in. I just got to make sure that I remember how my bookmarks work. Gonna edit you, put you in creatures. I arrange everything alphabetically and then by CR levels. So I will do that later. But I at least write down what the CR is. If my players are watching, that's fine. You should have a pretty good idea of, what you're going to run into in the campaign. So don't stress too much.
Unless you want them to stress, you could just hand them to me for a session. Trust me.
I feel like they're pretty stressed right now. Well, except for Jimbo,
They don't know.
who's just ready to give up. Ready to give up, not even down. That's the best part. He's not even down right now.
His character's not, but he's down to die.
It's true. I figure we'll go through one more for now before we hit our 10 mark. But this is another one that comes from Magic cards. This is a vampire. I'm noticing a trend with swamp stuff.
Named by the now forgotten evil wizard who needed sentinels to guard his hidden... Again, I could see this being something teamed up with the Slime Hound. Very functionally. Another grappling creature. Not a complicated creature. It's only a CR2. And again, we're dealing with grapple abilities.
Let me see if I
think.
There we go.
I think these could very well fit into a swamp or a sewer, being amphibious.
Ooh, this is one of those creatures that has a trait that hurts it. So if you pull them out of the water, he starts taking damage.
Mm-hmm.
Those are cool to have because, yeah, they're a weakness, but they also help you both flavor and understand how the creature's supposed to work. Yeah. It's weird that he's amphibious but still needs water. Normally you'd have one of those two things.
I think it's maybe you could flavor it as the skin it's capable of breathing, but it hurts because its skin is drying. Like maybe something about its mucous membrane just dries out quickly. But imagine putting these two creatures together where your party on the sidewalk, we'll call it, of the sewer is dealing with an ooze hound, and then maybe in the water there's 2 or 3 of these little swamp fires just nipping at people's heels.
That's good too. Really using that little bit of water in the center of the sewer. We know you're all thinking of this. We're all imagining the same kind of sewer. This is what both TTRPGs and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have taught us. All sewers look like this in our heads.
And you can get pizza delivered to them.
True. Okay, one thing I will say for a CR2 creature, having 10d10 plus 30 health is a lot.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's actually a little odd. Um,
The AC being
one,
10 is, I mean, I guess that's how they're balancing it, where the AC is super low. That's a
I
ton of
think
health.
that, but I think that plus it being plucked out the water and taking 6 damage a minute.
Mm.
If it was a lower health creature, so it's a CR2, so you figure, it's probably like what, level 5 to 7, you'd say? What you think is what CR2 average around level wise? We'll say 7. We'll put it on the higher end just for numbers' sake. 70, 10. I mean, you figure that it's plus 3 because it's con, so 70, 10 plus 21. Yeah, you're still going to get a high number. I think it's the D10 section of it that's really weird. I think it was like a 10d6, it wouldn't be so bad, but.
They're using D10 because it's large. It's supposed to be like if your creature size is
Mhm.
large, it has D10s for its hit dice. But again, if it's CR2 and it's got 10d10, that means it's supposed to be essentially a 10th level creature,
Yeah.
which is a little weird. Though I do
Yeah.
see the way that
No, it is a 10th level creature because its con bonus is a plus 30, which would make sense with a
yeah,
plus 3 con.
the the fact that it has 5 feet of movement when it's not in the water also lends well to like if your team can get it out of the water, you have a good chance. But if you take the CR2, you're supposed to have a party of 4 or 5 players at level 2 can take this guy. At level 2, 4 or 5 people are going to be wailing on this thing forever.
It'll take him a bit. It'll definitely take him a bit. Damage wise, if it was a level 2 party, I mean, again, the slam is a 1d6 plus 3. The grapple's a 1d10. The damage is very low.
The damage, I say, yeah, even for because it has flail about, it's supposed to be everyone within 10 feet of it gets smacked. That one, I understand where it's dealing its big damage. But for a
Mhm.
CR2 creature, they went with I have tons of health as opposed to I can deal tons of damage.
So then I think the arena for this creature is, let's use the sewer again, right?
Hmm.
You get to one of those weird sewer waterfall like situations. The party climbs down the side on a ladder. They get to this giant, what looks like a reservoir, and dead in the center of this reservoir. So I'm imagining Legend of Zelda Water Temple boss. Just a big pool of
Mm.
water in the center and an area on the side. This thing, since it's a large creature flailing around, and they're fighting it from all sides.
I definitely think that creature wise, unless someone moved it previously, like a wizard used telekinesis or something to lift it up and move it somewhere, like where it would naturally reside, definitely like that reservoir where there's almost
Yeah.
no way for it to not be in the water. It wants
Yeah.
to be in the water.
Yeah, it lives in that specific parts of the reservoir. Maybe a couple of them is, small as babies, however their ecology is, washed down into the sewer, kind of like alligators in the 80s washing down the New York City sewers. Um, they just kind of found places to seed themselves down and grow and just lived off everything that came by. And once they got large enough, these are busy sewers, you could say, bandits, you know, rapscallions and the like, beggars and all sorts of things that come down into the sewers were probably part of its ecology. And it just ate and grew. And so a bunch of them lived there. I could see it. I could
And
see it.
the second part of its grapple, where if you grapple a creature and then at the start of this guy's turns, that person loses health and this vampire regains health, that would be terrifying to a level 2 party. If you just had
Yeah.
one of the people on the team had their life was being sucked out of them, you would be horrified.
But I think you would only be horrified if your players chose to try and kill it versus move past it.
This is definitely
I,
built as like I'm a huge threat to you. You might want to come back later
yes.
if you want to actually kill me. As a
Yeah.
trap, like as a hazard, this guy's amazing.
Yeah. I think this works perfectly as trap hazard, uh, death trap even in certain cases that you could maybe even have as a neutral creature in an area where the party's fighting someone else and something hit the water and woke this thing up and now it knows food is nearby. And so it's flailing all around, hitting everyone regardless, enemy and foe. I mean, well, enemy and friend. Enemy and foe. I mean,
I just realized that it has tremor sense, but I guess it's because there's technically no, usually for creatures who are aquatic and live deep sea, you give them blind sight because it's the same idea as
yeah.
you can see things in the water. I guess they were trying to go for maybe the,
Well, it feels things vibrate the water like
yeah,
ripples.
I feel like that's what they were kind of going for. But Tremor Sense rules as written is like you have to be attached to the same floor as them to figure it out. So in that regard, because he's blind beyond the radius of 20 feet, Tremor Sense, he's probably sitting at the bottom of the reservoir. If someone makes a move above him or like on the rim of the reservoir, that's when he starts swimming up towards them. You start playing the Jaws theme, and then he can find them with his blind sight.
Uh-huh.
I would use
think
this, but
I
I
think
wouldn't, as a DM, like we said before, I wouldn't put this in the way of my players if I was forcing them to kill it. At
no.
CR2 at least. Later on, sure,
Yes.
whatever. But if I had a party of level 2s, this would be the time I would be like, you don't have to kill everything you come across.
Yeah. And I really think that's a level 2 would be the point where I would want to teach my players that because usually at level they've usually scaled up to level 1 whether it's milestone or experience wise from fighting and completing some kind of battle or a number of battles. So I would definitely want to teach them like, hey, sometimes the best way to complete a battle is to utilize the environment or get away from it completely. I love teaching that lesson because environmental hazards and things to look out for in a room to help your players sandbox, I think is always a fun way to get your players to look beyond their character sheet just a little bit. But
Yeah.
also really engage in the game.
Yeah. I definitely think I had this article pop up on my You May Like list on my phone earlier that was like ways you can reward your players. And I was like, huh? And basically, Bell of Lost Souls was talking about how, like, oh, you can give them an item that leads to a quest, that leads to this, that leads to this, yada, yada, yada. Give them information and what have you. And I was like, that's all fine and dandy, but there are plenty of players who, like my players, for example, they're like, if it's not XP, it's not a reward.
Fair.
And
Fair.
so thinking about this, there's also people who are like, oh, the only reason this creature is in front of us is because we can kill it. And that is not necessarily true.
Yeah. The danger assessment is something a player has to do. I, as a DM or a GM, depending on the game that I'm playing, I can only give you but so much information about the creature that you're facing. So it's really going to come up to the party amongst themselves to say to themselves, hey, we can fight this right now, or hey, we fought a lot of stuff, we're a little low on supplies, maybe we should try and get around it. Like I will never make that decision for my party because then I'm playing the game for them.
Yeah. And granted, it's kind of like quantum ogre type stuff. Like, if you're, I don't want to put down any DMs or what have you. Everybody plays the game differently. But if you're a DM, GM, referee, or what have you, if you're thinking of the game from the perspective that, okay, I said I wasn't going to put anybody down, but if you're thinking of the game from a perspective that everything that's happening in this world only happens because your players had direct intervention with it, you're doing it wrong. The world is supposed to exist. Your players are living in it. It doesn't exist because your players exist. So it's natural that there are things they currently cannot fight against.
Hmm. Hmm.
I used Quantum Ogre because that's the essential concept everyone always thinks of when they think of this, where it's like, oh, my players are going to go here, so I'm just going to move the creature over that I was going to make them fight over there. And it's semi-related, but also a little bit different. It's the real idea here is that the world exists. Like, there's things in the world. They exist. They would have existed with your players or without. So it's not like you're only putting, if you only make your players play against the exact thing that was made for exactly their level at exactly this time, the world's not really alive.
Yeah, I don't think that. Hmm. I think that to even kind of touch on that, I think that for me to have my players know of it, they have to encounter it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, in a lot of situations, the way I design my games, unless it's a story or quest essential thing that I've already plotted, a lot of the things that can affect a campaign's world are completely thought up on the spot for me.
Mm.
I inject them based on the roles that I give myself. I have a few monster blocks that I use for certain things and how I've been categorizing kind of like, I guess you would call it from, you know, peons and just like trash mobs to Avenger level threat would be my scale.
Mm.
Like something that could potentially change the course of the game. Like my players somehow delve into the Xanathar guild and awaken a beholder, let's say. You know, if there was already a BBG, well, now they've got a beholder on the loose too. That's going to change the narrative of the game, but that's only because my players did it. But I think once I introduced it, then yes, it would affect the rest of the world and be a constant threat in the game. That makes sense.
Mm. But you're also saying that beholder was there. Like,
The beholder had the potential to be there, but I think in my situation, I didn't plan for the beholder to be there. Their actions kind of put them in a situation to encounter the beholder.
That makes sense. It's different than, like, take this CR2 vampire creature. There are some people who would argue that this CR2's vampire creature only exists while the characters are all level 2 in the party. He's just there because that's exactly what they should be fighting now. Not that he lived there, or like we said before, like, oh, maybe somebody flushed one down the toilet and it got bigger.
No. I definitely don't think it's only there because of their level. No, it's there because it's there. It's either found its way there by random chance for me, or I've established, like we were, as we've spitballed for these past two creatures, the scenario in which the party encounters it. But if it's not in those situations, I'm not going to say, oh, level 1, you can only fight level 1 creatures.
Yeah.
I'm I may scale the creatures that I want them to fight to be level 1. Like they have to fight and kill to be within reason for them. Whether it be a large monster they all have to work together to kill, or a bunch of small trash mobs again. But there's also a non-zero chance I won't throw a creature they are completely incapable of killing normally, but may have to use the environment around them to do so.
And that's also a good, like, teachable moment. Just like with the, hey, you might want to go around this guy because he might suck the life out of one of you before you guys can do anything. He's very terrifying. Like that, oh, I'm going to teach you that you don't necessarily, like, take this guy for example. Maybe there's a way, since you're in the sewers, to drain all the water out of this guy's reservoir. And you know that when he's not touching water, he's going to shrivel up. That might be the option versus wailing on them and hoping they go down. That's also a very good teachable moment, especially at like level 2. That's great.
Yes.
Lead them into trying new stuff.
I think the old fashioned way of even kind of having in the adventure I designed, there's a situation where the creature that they're fighting seems to not like certain things that are in the area that it accidentally ingests. And while you can't wail on this thing without it potentially killing you, you could force it to eat these things in the area. And if you do, you will kill it in a number of turns.
Very like PS1 puzzle platformer boss-esque. Yes. Love it.
Yes. One of my favorite PS1 games is a terrible game called... Well, 3 of my favorite PS1 games forced me to do way too much puzzling in my RPGs. Brave Fencer Musashi, Threads of Fate, and I played a whole lot of Chrono Cross. Not Trigger, Cross.
For some reason, I really thought you were going to say Klonoa.
I did play a lot of Klonoa.
And
I did play a lot of Klonoa.
That's not a dig at Klonoa. It's just I've never heard of someone being a casual fan of Klonoa. I've only heard of people who are like, "I'll fucking kill over playing Klonoa." Like I've never heard of a casual fan of Klonoa. So I'm gonna be like, "How could you just throw it out there? Like, oh, you just played Klonoa."
No, I played Klonoa. I loved the game. I think they were amazing games, but I don't think I have the religious fervor for Klonoa. Some people might. Parappa the Rapper, yeah. But
good stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna throw this one in my list, but I probably wouldn't put it up against my. I wouldn't. Like we said, I wouldn't put this up against a party that had to fight it. If they could go around or find another way
at level
out,
2.
Yeah, at level 2, you're just gonna like you're just asking those players to die.
Yeah. I think this for me, if it was a fight, I'm putting this at my level 5 party. 4 to 5 party. Definitely post subclass gain for most martial classes. Because I know a lot of the magical classes gain them at like level 1 or 2. So it would definitely be like after you've specialized in your class, maybe even gained a level in a multi-class if you wanted to or something like that. So like the 4 or 5 mark would probably be when I'd say you have to fight one of these. And then obviously higher level parties may encounter multiple of these because they should be able to take out one of these quite easily, you know. Or just know to avoid, you know, dealing with them. Granted, you could destroy water if you're a druid.
Ooh, creator destroy water? Just keep destroying it so it gets backed further and further into the hole?
Ooh. And that's how you use a non-offensive spell offensively.
And it doesn't say that it's weak to lightning or what have you, but I'm sure the vast majority of DMs, because most of us have played Pokemon at some point, would be like,
or any RPG. Let's be
yeah,
fair.
RPG be like, oh, you pushed it down far enough into the water, then you strike that water with lightning, and it'd be like, yeah. I'm sure
Yeah,
most DMs would accept that.
I'm down for conductivity in my water plays.
But yeah, so this is the first take at what I thought we were gonna be doing more of. I actually walked around my house earlier today, thinking up a monologue, because I had already done another one for something that's gonna happen in my campaign later. And I was like, what I should tell people is that if we do get to looking at monster stat blocks, I assume this is more of what DM Roundtable was going to end up being, because when I started, I thought I was going to be the only one who took detailed notes. And then to find you, Bacon, and Lacara all took almost the same, we all took around the same level of detailed notes. I was like, oh, this isn't what I never expected that to happen. So I thought we were going to have more of this, but instead we had 7 episodes of going through one class because everybody took notes.
And I think going forward, I think it's probably not going to be like this for a lot of episodes. I think we've kind of learned.
Yeah.
Not to let our thoughts drag on, but it's definitely amazing to have gotten through Thunder Boy's extra empowered. I finally can get to my last note on this thing, which is as a whole, I do wholeheartedly believe that the new powers and the way the class is set up brings a very fun way to play D&D. I think, though, this is, as it's very obvious to everyone, this was made to bring in the comic lovers and bridge that gap that can exist between people who are big comic fans in D&D, to kind of give them a way to, hey, if you've only ever read comics, you've never played D&D, this is your very first campaign. I think as a DM, if I had a group of people like that, this would be what I would run them through. And be like, hey, you're super strong because you're superheroes. And then if they're like, we want to play a different campaign, then I break them into real basic D&D and just be like, okay, there's no more empowered. Like, that was fun. You guys had your fun. Welcome to hell,
Yeah, the empowered, very strong, a very strong class compared to the base classes.
Yeah.
And not just like yes, they do a lot of damage, but overall very high powered, to the point where, like, they don't, if you're running a campaign in the Forgotten Realms, the empowered, for the most part, it's like on a different level power scaling than the other base classes.
Yes.
And also, since you're in the Forgotten Realms, like, the technology to make the empowered isn't necessarily there, so you'd have to tweak just like the beginnings. So like Jimbo had said, like, oh, can I be blessed by a god? That makes sense. If you were truly empowered, you're basically an exarch.
Yeah, that I do believe that to play the empowered, I would never allow an empowered personally to enter a game that wasn't going to be empowered only. I still stand by that. I would only run empowered in empowered-based games in which all the players are empowered, but so are their their bigger enemies. Very much in a City of Heroes, City of Villains-esque kind of way. And because I cannot find it very fair to the other players that didn't choose that class. And again, it's not to be fair necessarily because I feel like it has to be, but more, they're going to unbalance a lot of things and cause me as a DM to have to place either very easy things in their way, so they just steamroll it, or very complicated things in their way to balance out the fact that there is someone in their party capable of taking hits meant for maybe 3 to 4 levels higher.
And like,
So
just like for me, if you can flavor it correctly, I would probably be willing to let a player be an empowered. But if you were all starting out at level 1 and someone wasn't empowered, like the other players in the game would have to have some, like they would have to have some bonus that the empowered did not have to make it seem even. Because at level 1, if you're an empowered hanging out with the other classes, you're basically just stomping the other classes. Like they will all feel useless compared to you.
yeah, you are essentially standing in front of everything. Your character is every character at the first level because you are capable of doing pretty much anyone's job. Like you're the tank. You're strong. You're a better monk than the monk. You're a better fighter than the fighter. By the time you get to the second level and you get your first astounding power, it's already a problem.
Actually, yeah, at level 2, you're way better than everyone else. At level 1, you and the barbarian are running the show. At level 2, you've left the barbarian behind.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that at level 2, you can take things like aftershock. So you have that shock wave around you. You can take frost breath, courage. You can take immortal spirit, maximum effort. Like there's so many abilities just at level. You can even take laser eyes at level 2.
Free cantrips, baby!
Yeah. That's a little rough for a player to have to deal with at level 2 to try and keep up with.
I do think something you said about getting people amped up to play, this is a good class for something I'm going to talk about when I start delving into your DMs. Is like there's an acclimation period that I think every player has, and the time that they spend during that acclimation period is different for every player. But if you gave someone the empowered when they were first starting to play D&D, I think that has a much higher chance of them wanting to stay because they're so strong. Like that acclimation period is when, as a DM for new players, you're not quite sure. Like if you killed this player, would they ever pick up the game again? So an empowered in that, even though they'd have to write their own sheets and what have you, because since it's a homebrew class, you can't put it on D&D Beyond. Roll20 you could do it because Roll20 has more leeway, but less doing the math for you. This would be a good class during that acclimation period because the chances of them actually dying are quite slim.
Yes. 100%. But again, I did give this an overall rating. I think I give this a 7 out of 10 as a class, as a homebrew. It's well designed. I think that there are obvious places that I think could use improvement. I think we all agreed on, but Tundra Boy, if you ever watch this, you did a bang up job. I hope that if you ever do release anything else in the future and you do see this video, you send it to Okami to show to us so that we can review it for you too.
Okay, so if you guys have been hanging out on the channel for a really long time, there's another YouTuber that's been on YouTube for about as long as me. I think I was on in, like, I don't know, 2006 or something. It's been a while. But he goes by Cardboard Game Guru. And he makes things out of cardboard, obviously you can tell by his name, what have you. And when crowdfunding became popular, he was like, I've always wanted to. What is he? He's the CEO of a comic book publisher and distributor, like an indie comic book and publisher distributor. And he was like, I have this idea for the superheroes in my world, what have you. I want to make a board game for it. And if you've been on the channel for a long, long time, we did a couple video playthroughs of this board game. It wasn't Kickstarter. I think it was Indiegogo at the time. We Indiegogo this board game and we got it. And the board game, the ideas behind it are great, but it is woefully imbalanced. If you use the base rules, there's almost no chance that you will finish the first stage of 6. And then, so we kept tweaking the rules over and over again. We made it so that we can beat the first stage, but like 2 turns into the second stage, everybody's dead. And we actually sent him, as a group, we got together and I actually have the document somewhere. I got to find it. We made a document that was like, these are the things we would change or tweak so that the game is actually winnable. And I thought it was super cool because like I had conversations with the guy before. Like I've actually spoken to him. And I was like, this is so cool that you made a board game. He manually made all the boards for the board game. He manually made all the pieces. Like it's stellar work. It's great. But it's not winnable. So we sent him this document. We're like, these are the things we think you should change, you should tweak, or suggestions that we have to make the game more fun to play. I sent the document to him. And a couple days later, I got a response from him, and he was like, oh, that's nice, but I'll never change any of this. I'm not even going to think about that board game anymore. And, like, getting that response after we were so excited and happy about it, like, that's crazy to me. He did all this work, and the balancing is garbage, and he's just like, yeah, nope, doesn't matter anymore. So I'm hoping if Tundra Boy sees this, they're at least a little happier that someone spent the time to play.
Yeah, I would hope so. That's horrifying.
It's such a bummer.
That is horrifying. I am sorry you had that experience.
I just wanted to play your game, man.
I wanted to support you. Don't you let me love you?
Yeah, let us love you. Let us help you make this game better. He actually just set I think it was a Guinness World Record for the world's largest board game where humans are the pieces. He rented out a gym. He lives in Canada. He rented out a gym and he makes board games where you use this like humongous plush die. And then he makes all the spaces and stuff. So he just set a Guinness World Record for that. So it's not like he doesn't do board games anymore.
Clearly not. I just feel really bad that you had that experience now. I feel like that's such a meh experience.
Yeah. It's definitely lower than mid. But if you've been in my room before, the huge square box that's right in front of my closet is the box for Super Powerful Bonanza. So it's not like I don't even look at the game. The box is right next to my bed, essentially.
It's literally wow, it's literally just staring at you.
Yep. Every day.
Oh.
But we do use the trees that he made in my D&D campaign. Everyone was like, oh my god, did you make these trees? I was like, nah, man, they're from Super Powerful Bonanza. And everyone who played with us is mostly the people who were playing in my D&D campaign. So they're like, yo, that board game that no one can beat? And I was like, that's the one.
That's it. That's her. That's her.
But on that kind of sad note, I guess, sorry. My bad.
Well, to bring you guys back up to happiness,
yeah,
everyone, don't forget, if you enjoy the content that you witness here, like, comment, subscribe, drop questions, concerns. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. Don't tell us you hate us.
Yeah,
or suggest it. Suggest it without saying the hate.
True.
Subscribe to the Patreon. Subscribe on YouTube, wherever you're watching it. Tell your friends. Post it on your blogs and your MySpaces, your Friendsters, and all the things in between. But most importantly, thanks for joining us. I'm thankful to you, Okami, for having me back, as always.
Hmm.
But, click the things that make noises and things to support Okami here so more content can come out. And we can continue to bring you stuff like this. Even if you just like hanging out and listening to us yawk.
Mm-hmm.
2 hours.
And speaking of that, I'm pretty sure that the next couple things are all creatures. I think that the next let's see. We got creature, race, feats, and then a subclass. I think we can just go through those down the line.
Yeah.
Next
We can just
episode.
chop them apart.
So
Just chop them up.
hopefully DM Bacon will join us since we're not going to be touching the empowered. But hopefully next week we have DM Bacon and DM Lacara and obviously DM Shin who's there and me. I'm going to be here because I'm the one who has to hit the button on OBS. So
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're not there and we're there, there's a question I have to ask.
yeah. But please do hang out. I will be running. I don't know about specifically tomorrow, but I have been running on just Twitch some streams where I'm cataloging magic cards so that I know if I have 2 or more cards, I can cut them up and make minis out of. I'll probably make a video about that specifically, but I realize most of you, when you hear that, you're like, you cut up your magic cards? Don't worry, most of my magic cards are worth nothing. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to
They're
worry
extras.
about that. Yeah.
They're extras and commons. He's not ripping apart like $500 cards, folks.
Yeah, not doing that. But your magic cards, like even the 2 creatures that we looked at today, the Swamp Fire and the Oozehound, that art is for Magic. There's so much good art in Magic that you could turn that right into tokens for D&D. So that's why I want to catalog this so I can snip little pieces of art and stuff and make creatures out of them. It's great. There are tons of resources online too, like what we just looked at and other places that are people just making stat blocks of magic cards. So it's cool that you can just use the actual cards pieces to make minis. I've been doing cataloging streams over on just Twitch. So I try to do that like once a day at some point. Sorry that there's nothing, no specific time for it. But I do tweet about them before I go live. So if you want, you can follow me there. The link to Twitter is on, I think, both descriptions on Twitch and YouTube, depending on where you are. Just follow me, and then you can hang out, and we'll chat.
Click it. Click things.
Yeah.
Press it.
Next week, barring anything weird happening, I think we're going to look through some more creatures and stuff together. Hopefully we'll have all 4 DMs. At the end of, what month is this? Is it May? I don't even know. Okay. At the end of June, hopefully the 5th, actually I think in the middle of June, I think that's what she said, there'll be another DM joining us. Hopefully.
Another.
They've been super busy, so they haven't joined us for any of these. Also, that DM might be the one who's running the Patreon one-shot as well. So, yeah. Hopefully mid-June or so, they can come join us and hang out, and then we can all talk about stuff. So until next week, or if I see you in the meantime, have a good night, everybody, or day, depending on where you are.
Have a good one, folks. This
Later.
is DM Shin signing out.
All right, gonna stop.